Welcome to Racking Our Brains. I'm Paul.
And I'm Abdul, and today we're discussing something that we've been thinking about, and I hope you'll think about it too.
I'm most excited to learn how other people feel about topics I'm passionate about.
We know you have something to share, so leave a comment below.
Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you get our newest discussion. Only got one more piece of jerky to have.
You son of a bitch, if you fucking saved it for the
Bro, it's a running joke. Relax. It's such a baby.
It's only funny to you, is the problem with this joke.
Wait, see? And, right, so the other problem with this is that racism still lives because your opinion is the only one that matters. Actually, we should touch on that. We shouldn't touch on that, but you and I can talk about. Have you heard about Jerry Seinfeld said something about the left is destroying comedy or some shit?
No.
It's a snippet of nothing, but it's the same thing. Like, I don't know if it's the same thing, but I guess it's just weird. Like, but if you're smart, you're smart. As people get older, they get more conservative, and the conservative part is, I don't want things to change from when I was in my heyday. Totally ignoring the fact that you changed the shit that was in your parents' or your parents' parents' heyday. So why can't you just understand that and be like, okay, cool. It's like me in hip hop. I hate almost all new rap, but I don't give a fuck. If you want to call it rap, call it whatever you want. I don't like it. It doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it favorite music. Guess what? Hates favorite music.
You want to say that one more time?
say that 2 times fast.
No, say your actual name fucking 3 times in a row. Again. It's that fucking beef jerky's got you off your game. I told you not to eat that shit.
Bro, it's the habanero. It's all spicy.
Ah, shit, dude. I'm just thinking about the work already. But anyway, okay, we're not talking about the left destroying comedy, or maybe later we will. Man. Happy May Day. We have not recorded in a while. And here we are again, and hopefully I crank this one out to the people, all 2 viewers that are out there watching our long form videos. So you said please, what did you say? Let's record on this. Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Please let's record. All caps, multiple exclamation points. So set us up. What is this video?
I'm guessing this is some type of digital artist who is having a conversation with a group of business owners, small business owners who, they're having some type of philosophical exchange about how they price the work that needs to be done for their business, right? So that's
for a logo specifically, right?
Yeah, I don't know if the logo fucking matters. Like it's a philosophical conversation about how do you price the work that you need to get done for your business, right? If you hire somebody to do something for your business, how do you quantify the price that you're willing to pay? And the artist, the ice sculptor guy, is trying to tell them that they're being, I forgot the exact word that he uses, but he does say that the logic doesn't make sense when he says, well, do you value time or money? Because he sets up a scenario of, well, what if it takes me 2 months?
Why do you want to know my hourly rate?
I guess I want to know where my $18,000 is going.
Does that mean if I work less hours, I should charge you less?
Yeah.
So if I go over those hours, I should charge you more?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying to me, you value this logo taking longer rather than shorter. So it means if I just tell you it took me 4 months to work on it, you will now owe me $36,000.
If it's in my budget and if I think you're worth it, but I would also ask, why would it take that long to make that logo?
I want to put a lot of effort into it.
But I could hire somebody else who would charge me the same rate, but do it quicker.
So you value time over money then?
Sure, as a business person, yeah.
So here's the deal. I work really fast. I can come up with a logo, but I'm being punished for me being efficient and really good. You understand the logic doesn't work now?
Sure.
That's the problem. So if I could do a logo for you right now and you love it in 5 minutes, are you saying it's worth less than 18 or is it worth more now? It's worth more. So charging by the hour punishes me for being good.
Okay, so pick up where you were going. So you because you were unsure of a particular word that he used or whatever. So what did you get out of that?
Nothing different. I'm not going to change anything. He said the logic doesn't stand up because the business owner wants to quantify it by an hourly rate, which is irrelevant. But again, I think number one, right? So the reason I wanted to talk about this is because he said, "Do you value time over money?" And the axiom that I think everybody has heard and most people agree with: time is money. So this is a fucking circle jerk of like, what are you calling time and money? If it
Time is not literally money. I understand the axiom, but everyone's time is a different amount of money. Would you agree?
no, because
Really?
because
Okay.
because it's super subjective, and maybe that's what you were trying to say. I'm not really sure why you. I mean, if it's an axiom, you know that we're not using that as a literal calculation, right? We're saying people's time will cost you money, people's expertise, and so what's built into that, and what I think the artist is trying. I'm going to continue to call him the artist, like the whatever.
Yeah.
What the artist could be trying to say, or what I'll agree with, is that if you want to use time, then I'll just take whatever time you think is reasonable, and then I'll charge you whatever rate I think I can charge you. But the logo, right? At the end of the day, what are we talking about? Who creates worth? Is my contention with this, right? Like, forget about I can have a commentary on the business owner and what fallacies or inconsistencies they bring to the table, and even though there is not a lot of argumentation on their side, we can evaluate and analyze um, the rhetoric of the artist. But at the end of the day, they're talking around what I think is a truth, which is who creates the worth, and the buyer creates the worth. I don't give a fuck how long it took you to make this thing. I can only tell you what it's worth to me. Doesn't matter if it took you 5 minutes or 5 years. It's worth $20 to me. Do you want to sell it to me? Now, you may not say you may say, no, I'm not going to sell it to you. Well, cool. You'll only sell 500 versus 20,000. And who cares, right? There is no real answer here, right? I think that's one of the underlying, fallacy might be a strong word, but underlying misconceptions that the artist establishes the value. Because he even said, what is it worth to you? But then he says, well, if I take longer, can I, charge you more? And the guy said, yes. Like, I don't even know if they're really connecting on the components of what they're saying. Because the business owner wants this thing because it's going to help their business perform. If you don't have the ability to quantify that, then really what you're doing, and that's why you got into that hourly rate thing, is because everybody has an hourly rate. And at the end of the day, and he even said, based on my budget. So he's budgeted for this. He has no fucking idea how hard it is or how easy it is to make this logo, which is the nature of buying things, right? You buy things that you can't do or that you're not willing to do. Most people, if they could do it themselves, they would do it themselves and save the fucking money.
Yeah, I think a couple things. Number one, assuming this is a brand new service or product, I think the seller can at times establish a price.
Not even
right?
at times. 100% they can establish a price. Yeah, sure.
Right? Like unknown, maybe you get some focus groups or something, and then it is what you're saying, where you're trying to find out what the buyer is willing to pay. But the second thing is, yeah, this guy who is the potential business owner, small business owner, whatever, who's answering his questions about, well, how would you feel if I charged you this? He clearly, to your point, has in mind an amount of time, a length of time, and a dollar amount that he's willing to spend. And as you said, he's got no clue, right? He's thinking to himself, whatever it is, because he doesn't say it on the video. I would love it if you could turn this around in a week and it would only cost me $5,000. That would be perfect. And maybe he's got in his mind like, okay, if it took 2 weeks, I'd be willing to pay $7,000 or something, and all of that. And then when he hears a number like 18,000 and it's going to take 2 months, he just has a feeling, a reaction that just feels wrong to me. It either feels like it's going to take you too long, or it feels like it's too expensive for taking that long. So yeah, I don't know. And again, as we always say, because we watch these shorts and we don't have the context of the rest of this conversation, we don't know where it goes after that and how it lands with everyone else in the room. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have a real problem with this. So again, to summarize, your problem was what specifically? Just that the business owner doesn't really have a clue when he's trying to make those claims?
No. I don't. The problem is, I mean, do I have a problem? I don't have a problem with anything other than the sentiment that they're throwing around words that they have not defined. And maybe my issue is with whoever put this short out, who thinks they're making a fucking point. What fucking point are you making? Because two things. You said, hypothetically, right, because these numbers and timeframes were not provided. If it takes a week, I'm willing to pay $5,000. If it takes 2 weeks, I'm willing to pay $7,000. Why the fuck? Why would you pay more if it takes more time? If it takes you more time, I should charge you less money because you're slowing down my business. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I threw that out there again with his sense of, well, I would appreciate knowing what an hourly rate is, right? Like, and so as he agreed, yes, if it took you longer, I'd be willing to pay you more money.
Right. And that's just because he's following some asinine paradigm that, yeah, if I was paying you on an hourly rate and you worked more hours, then I would pay you more money. But it's because of my ignorance. I don't know how long this logo should or would take.
Yeah, and the caption for this short is why charging by the hour doesn't make sense. So to your question of what point are you trying to make, that is, whoever's posting this, that's the point they're trying to make. And kind of in the snippet that the artist, as you called him, it says, right, this is why it doesn't make sense. Because if I turn this around in 5 minutes and you love it, I should be willing to charge you $18,000 because you said your time is more valuable than what you're willing to spend, or however. That's the problem I had with it is, and that's why I asked you about the axiom of time literally being money. And you agree it's not. That's not what we mean when we say that. It's that, as I said in the beginning, trying to figure out, okay, well, I'm willing to spend this much more. And I don't know if you want to call it a sliding scale. Like, yeah, I'd pay this much extra if you could get it to me this much faster, right? Like if I felt like I was gaining something because my time is worth something. And to your point, it launches my business sooner or whatever. And I'm willing to sacrifice up front for that. I could miss a market opportunity if you do take the 2 months or something. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's really difficult to figure out. As you said, it's almost impossible. You can't really measure all of these logo designers against each other. It's really hard to quantify what it means to your business. I know you brought that up, right? How can you really tell, other than having two parallel universes, one which you have a shitty logo, one where you finally have the logo that this guy designs, and comparing how they both do in a world of the exact same consumers, or two worlds of the exact same consumers? So yeah, I don't know. The artist gets to set his market rate based on all of the business he's done. And to your point, what all of the buyers he's dealt with have been willing to pay him. Right. And presumably, right, if he comes to the table and says, yeah, we do logos, I can get you a great logo, it's going to cost you 18 grand. And he probably knows that some people walk away, but he gets enough business where he's able to stay afloat as a logo designer.
Right. This is not like, I guess my frustration is, I don't know how many people are going to see this exchange and have a very just simple, realistic response to this. They're going to be buyers and sellers at so many different levels. You get in where you fit in, quote unquote. This logo, there are going to be companies who make $50 million a year who are willing to spend $20,000 on this logo. And there are businesses that make 600 grand a year who can only spend 5K on this shit. That's their budget, right? What is your budget? Then go get somebody who's going to be willing to do it, whatever. And then educate yourself to some extent on how long it takes to make a logo. So there is the tangible part of it, you know, how long does it take to really create a logo that's sized perfectly, that is symmetrical, that is physically functional. And then you might be paying somebody for their creativity of the color scheme and the shading and all that other shit it's tangible and it's, you know, quantifiable, but it's also creative and subjective, right? And then, but at the end of the day, it's just what you can pay. And at the end of the day, there are people who are really, really good artists who just haven't gotten big contracts yet, who are charging $5,000 for their logos. And so maybe I need to just step back and say, okay, so my beef isn't with the person who posted this saying that charging by the hour doesn't make sense. Right. I don't know if that's the case. Charging by the hour doesn't make sense for certain business exchanges. There are definitely business exchanges, and I guess just off the cuff, I'm saying to myself, if I know how many boxes it takes, if I know how long it takes me to load 50 boxes into this truck, and I need you to load 8,000 boxes into this truck, I know how much I'm going to pay for this job. So no, that's another one. Am I going to pay by the hour? No, I'm just going to pay you. But I'm going to do the calculation by the hour. You know, I'm going to.
Precisely. And as you were talking about it, I was just thinking about that. And from a capitalist perspective, right, it never makes sense. From the entrepreneur or the business owner, it never makes sense to do that, even though, to your point, there are plenty of functions or services that operate as billed by the hour. But if you can establish a rate, like you said, make the calculation based on what you know you'll spend each hour in performing that service, and you come up with a rate, you then give yourself the opportunity to say, this is my flat rate. And if I can now save on the expenses, if I can find a more efficient way to perform the service, right? Like it took you however many hours to load 50 boxes, to your point, then I get a machine to do it and the machine costs less or whatever. Then I save, right? And I make more profit. I can keep my flat rate. So yeah, I think maybe that's what they're trying to say. I haven't seen the rest of this page. And if it is mostly entrepreneurs or business owners or designers or whatever, you offer yourself a better opportunity to say, if I just go out there and say, this is my hourly rate, it's really difficult to say all of a sudden my hourly rate has doubled or even increased by 20% or whatever. Right? Someone's going to tell you that's so weird. I don't even understand how that works.
Have you heard?
I'm not willing to pay you.
Have you heard these, especially on shorts and shit like that, these business owners who are on the internet and they say, yesterday's rate's not today's rate.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to pay for my quality. Like, okay, well, you act like somebody else who has the same quality might charge me a lesser rate. And you have the right to do that, right? So, and that's another part of this is there is no one answer to the proper rate to pay. And I guess that was my point with, you know, a business that makes 50 million a year versus a business that makes, you know, 5 million a year. They're going to pay possibly for the same thing, two drastically different prices, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, for the same service, for the same product, because of what it does for that business. Obviously, this logo is going to make a $50 million business, maybe a $51 million business. You just made $1 million. But that's what, 2%? Versus if I have a $5 million business and it takes me to $10 million because of this logo, because of the notoriety or whatever the fuck. And again, this is after the fact, right? We're pretending that it doubled somebody's business. And so everything is kind of relative to the impact of the service or the component of your business. your budget and all that good stuff. And so I think I told you about the argument I had with my dad about what he was worth. And I think it was close to the point where I was starting to make decent money, and it was still probably half of what he was making. And so I remember him bitching about his company. I don't know. He's just bitching about something with money or whatever. He's like, nah, this is what the fuck I'm worth. And let's just throw a number out there, right? So he let's just say he said I'm worth 150 a year. And I was like, well, how did you come up with that number? And like a Wolverine in its den who smells, whatever is dangerous to a Wolverine, he like backed himself into a corner. He's like, what the fuck do you mean? How do I come up with that number? Well, it's a question, sir. And you know how I am. I literally kind of conducted myself like that. But anyway, so I'm like, well, how'd you come up with that number? And he automatically thought I was trying to say that he's not worth that amount of money, which I'm not sure how you get that. But at the end of the day, I'm just asking you, how did you come to that? And people don't realize that you're not worth 150 for two reasons. Well, not for two reasons, but in two different senses. If they said we'll only pay you 140, I'm sorry, last year you were probably doing the same job and you were making 140. Let's just say you got a 10% raise. Like you're probably doing the exact same thing and now you make more. So are you worth more? Or hasn't, your employer is gracious enough to, adjust for inflation and allow you to keep up with, rising costs possibly. And if somebody offered you $300,000 to do your job, would you take it? Or would you say, no, that's not what I'm worth? And nobody, and I mean nobody, would say no to the $300K under the exact same situation. But then,
yeah, and certainly not for that rationale.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just want people to truly understand objectively where they're getting this concept of worth from. And I think if most people were honest, they would realize that, and he did a very kind of niche job. I wouldn't say super niche, but, it's, he did something that was in the entertainment industry, and people who did what he does in the non-entertainment industry don't make half of what he fucking makes. He just happened to be working for a great company that was at the top of its industry or towards the top of its industry, and blah, blah, blah. Like, you just...
Playgirl. He spread his butt cheeks.
Bro.
As Mike Honcho.
He would have been...
But I just wanted you to know that. If you could hear me, if it got into your brain somehow, that I spread my butt cheeks as Mike Honcho.
We would have had to fight for that job. But no, so like, it's just an in general thing of understanding the true components of capitalism, or just the commerce space of exchanging your time and energy for money. And stop pretending that you deserve something, or that what you do is like intrinsic. Because we know it's not, right? We know that teachers are worth more to society than rappers. And rappers make a shitload more than teachers. So it's not what you're worth, is what people are willing to pay you. And even what people are willing to pay you is drastically different, depending on who your clientele is.